welcome to All Things STEM with Ashley. I'm super excited because today we have Victoria Lee.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So a little bit about Victoria is that she is a driven and results-oriented professional with experience in global supply chain and operations management. As an operations area manager at Amazon, she led a team of over 150 associates to achieve the highest safety score while meeting productivity goals and maintaining quality standards. One of her key achievements was identifying and addressing a $30,000 annual waste labor cost, which she resolved by implementing a standardized process and training module that was approved by their senior leadership. This project resulted in a $17,910 year-over-year cost savings. Currently, Victoria is a first-year SOLR member and leads the Sustainment cross-capability Cohort program, designed to address attrition rates among 0 to 5 year employees in the aerospace industry by providing targeted support and development opportunities. She also serves as High School Intern Coordinator and the developer of the SYNC program, offering mentorship opportunities for SOLR participants and high school students. Victoria is committed to aligning her work in the aerospace industry with their mission and cultural behaviors and holds a degree in communications and communications management from Trinity University in San Antonio, completed in 2022. So we want to welcome Victoria. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing so well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming and being a guest. We just want to tell people stories, learn tips for success, things they wish they had learned along their journey. And so we're super excited to have you today to talk about your communication and how you navigated that into the aerospace industry.
For sure. Yeah.
So, first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Yes, so I'm mainly from Portland, Oregon, born and raised there, but I've been in Fort Worth, Texas for the past 3 years. So I spent a year at Amazon, like Ashley mentioned, and then the next 2 years in the aerospace industry. And so now I'm just here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Victoria,
Yes.
what first sparked your interest in communications management and how did that evolve into a career in the aerospace and defense industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I've always been interested in people, first of all, and in undergrad, in college, I actually went in with the mindset of getting involved in medicine or business. And so that was the big two things, and coming from an Asian background, my dad was like, lawyer, doctor, figure it out.
Yeah.
And so from there I started taking a lot of STEM courses, hated it, and actually being so real, I hate numbers.
Okay.
And so basically in college I actually did not really enjoy the quantitative classes or chemistry classes like that, and so I started taking courses in marketing and I absolutely fell in love with it. And so that's kind of how I got into communication management, because I love the people, I love the marketing aspect of business. On top of that, management courses, those were always super fun, and so that's kind of how I ended up minoring in that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Very cool. So how did you get that? Once you minored in the communications management, how did you get into saying, I can do this in the aerospace industry?
So with that background of communication management, because I had that management part in my resume, that's how I got into Amazon. And from there, I started managing upwards to 100 plus people on the floor. It was a crazy experience, but through that, I was able to gain a lot of technical experiences on the job rather than in undergrad. And so that helped me get into aerospace when they asked about analytics and the technical skills. I had that from my previous experience. So that's how I weaved my way into the aerospace industry.
That's so cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So did you always envision yourself working in the STEM space, when you were doing these things? I know you said just that's how you got there, but was that always a goal, since you were the quantitative stuff isn't it, but let me maybe get into that industry through another way? Or did it just happen like that?
It really just happened that way. For me, I never really had that end goal of, I'm gonna get into aerospace industry, I'm gonna be in a technical role, although it sounded really cool and maybe one day, but I was mainly focused on what am I passionate about, what am I interested in, and naturally and by God's will, it put me where I am today. And so and I know there's a lot of people that they have an end goal in mind that they do their major and they work backwards from where they want to get to, which I think is incredible and amazing. But for me, I just never really had that hardcore passion of this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. I didn't even know like fighter jets were a thing in the industry or anything like that. And so truly by God's will.
Yeah, I love it. So can you give us an overview of what communications management is and what it entails for those that may want to follow your path?
Yeah, for sure. So communication management, communications, when you hear it, a lot of people assume that it's creating PowerPoints, presentations, and then also just talking to people. But it's so much more than that, and especially in the society today, communication is like the number one thing a lot of industries are looking for because AI is such a big thing as well. Mm-hmm. And so people with that communication backgrounds can come in to industries and kind of know what that company's values and vision is and be able to communicate in a way to solve complex problems. So, and that's so important, the people aspect, the networking aspect, and aside from like the people aspect of communications, there's also media. Yeah. So media is huge. Media is ruling the world. Yeah. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you name it, anything. And so communication majors, we learn how media is used to communicate to the rest of society. And so a big aspect of that was COVID. For example, the way masks were enforced, the way social distancing was enforced, that's all communications, and that's all communication media. And so there's strategic communications, there's people communications, there's technological communications, there's so much behind it, and it's so vast. So you can take your communication skill and what you learn about like the theories and speakers within communication, and you apply that to whatever industry you want to, which is such a special skill. Because if you major in maybe, for example, like CS, communicate or computer science, you're gonna be a coder. You're gonna be speaking in Python or Scala or whatever. But if you major in communications, you can literally apply that to whatever field that you want. And so, which is why I ended up minoring and attaching the management part to it. So there was a minor called communication management, and the management part is, like I mentioned, like the marketing courses or all the business analytical courses. And that prepared me not only to be a non-technical person, but I paired the technical part with communication because I love the people part, I love the social media part of it, and then the marketing, learning how to create spreadsheets, read spreadsheets. And so communication management is such a vast term that you can really make it whatever you want it to for your career. And that's how I took it.
I love it. Thank you. So now I wanted to ask you kind of just spoke on it. How does communications management contribute to the success of technical teams or projects in this industry or any industry?
Yeah. Well, speaking basically on aerospace, because that's the industry I'm in right now, I would say there's so many technical-minded people where I'm working. And so coming into the industry, I noticed that there wasn't much communication. It's develop the software, develop the technical platforms, and get it done. But then who's going to get it done? You have to communicate that. You have to communicate. You can't just create a platform and be like, great, I created this amazing platform that everyone can use. Okay, but who are you going to tell? Like your coworkers, and then it ends there? No, like there's a whole process of launching that, releasing it, making sure senior management knows about it, making sure the whole BA knows about it, the whole function knows about it. And so that's where communication comes in. And so if you don't know how to properly communicate that, it's going to be get nowhere. And so like me coming in with that background of communication management, I was able to manage what was being created and use my skill sets in a way that's, hey, like you created this amazing technical product, let's make sure everyone knows about it. And so through that, that's kind of how the communication aspect can be used in a really good way in the technical field.
I love it. Thank you. Right. So, Victoria, you have shared so much great things about communications and communications management. I want to ask, what advice would you give young women who want to work in the STEM field but come from a non-technical or communications-focused background like yourself?
Well, I think I'll start off by saying be confident and know yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, like wanting to get into a technical field or a STEM role comes with having the hard skill sets, and so I don't want to minimize that. So if you want to get into STEM, learn the skills, and that doesn't necessarily mean like become a coder like every other STEM woman in the field. It means know just enough to get in. And so for myself, I wanted to get into the technical field or the STEM field, and for me it was learning how to use platforms like Tableau, learning how to use data management tools and whatnot. And so I took trainings, and that doesn't necessarily mean I went out and like became a coder, because I'm not interested in that. And so don't force yourself to do anything that you genuinely aren't passionate about, and try new things, consistently try new things, try it out. Don't say no just because you're not quantitatively like minded, because I'm definitely not, but I'll still need that skill set if I want to speak to STEM-minded people. I'm gonna have to know the vocabulary, I'm gonna have to know specific data points, and that goes without saying. And so don't be bold, but also don't shy away from the skill sets that you need to be successful in the said field. And know your worth, walk in boldness, and if your skill set is people and you still want to be in tech, great. Make that path for yourself. And that's kind of what I force myself to do. Is I love the technical minded people, I want to work with them, but I know my skill set is people management and project management. And so for me, I focused on the minimal technical skills that I needed, and I took that with me and I went in. I jumped right in and asked a lot of questions. Asked so much questions that you get in on the lingo. You sound like one of them, and that's how you kind of fit yourself right in with the technical folks. And so that's exactly what I did. And I'm not gonna pretend that I know all the technical work that's being done, but I don't need to know all of it, because I'm not the person that's behind the scenes coding, doing all of that. And so know just right enough, and be bold, know your own skill sets, and figure that out as long as it takes.
Good. Now, do you have any platforms that helped you with trainings for like Tableau or maybe Power BI, or any things you can give to the audience that maybe they can research to get those
For me,
those knowledge sets?
I started off on YouTube like everyone does. YouTube is a great tool just to like get in and search whatever trainings that you need. And there's actually not that many resources of maybe like non-STEM backgrounds trying to get into technical fields. And so that was kind of a struggle for me, honestly. And so I'm so glad you're creating content like this to speak to young women that are interested in STEM, that maybe don't have that strong STEM background. And so I really encourage you to find the resources. The other places I found it would be within my company. We have a lot of training resources, and so take advantage of them. You're literally being paid to take the trainings. So speak to your managers, find out the resources that your company has, and if you're in college, ask your professors. Talk and network and figure out what the best training platforms are to get to where you need, because training platforms are also changing. Companies are always looking for new trainings as well, and so take advantage of whatever is new, whatever is upcoming, and just take it. You're not gonna lose anything by taking random courses. So
so y'all get on YouTube.
Yes.
Look at Tableau, Visio, Excel, Power BI. All
There's
those
Percipio. I know Percipio is really good, and then
Coursera, I feel like is something
really
people
good.
say. So check out those resources, and I'll put them in the show notes. So thank you, Victoria. So now a little bit more, you kind of spoke on this. How do you bridge the gap between technical experts and broader audiences or stakeholders? Is there specific skills? Is there specific ways you learn to do that in school?
School definitely. Majoring in communications, we find out like the most important thing when communicating is knowing the people, not necessarily knowing like what you want out of that person. It's kind of almost like being a servant leader. And so that comes by knowing the company. So say for Amazon, like the interview process.
Right.
You have to communicate to them in a way that that's like understanding and that is pleasing to their ears.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're really gonna get in is if you match their vision, their mission statement. And so for me, I did a lot of research on the person.
Yeah.
So in this case for the interview, I did a lot of research on Amazon and what their goals are. And I kind of reframed everything of, not meaning change yourself, but I reframed my answers in a way that would be pleasing to their ears.
Yeah.
And then going into the aerospace industry compared to Amazon, it's so different.
Yeah.
The values are different. The way that we hold ourselves up is very different. And so I had to do research on aerospace and I had no idea what aerospace even was. And so learning about that, reading up on it, and then naturally going into the conversations with managers, leaders, senior management with that same vision in mind, because that's why they're in there and that's how I'm going to fit in with them, by knowing what they like. And so,
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So you spoke on how you learned a few technical things to get in. Are there any technical concepts on the job you had to learn to be more effective, and how did you approach that?
Yeah. I initially went in as an items analyst. Okay. And so being an analyst, it's all numbers. And so not really much people work, but I had to step in and do that work in order to get to where I wanted to, which was more management and more people in the technical realm.
Right.
And so, I had to do a lot of trainings. I had to ask so many questions because I didn't understand the platform. I didn't understand what was going on. Right. But the more questions you ask, the less you have to ask later on, honestly. And so I just made myself the most beginner student ever. Put yourself in that vulnerable position. If you try to avoid it by like trying to be less annoying or whatever, no. Ignore all of that, literally, and get what you need to be successful in the role that you are given. And so my title was analyst, so I became an analyst by asking the hard questions and the dumb questions. And honestly, like, it's not the best consistently repeat your questions to your lead because they're also busy. And so take notes. And for me, I asked my lead if I can record them as they're going through the technical work. So I didn't have to re-ask them the next day. So I know that helped me a lot, and I had to go home and study it. Literally, like, re-watch the recordings 3 times just to understand the software that we were using. And that's kind of how I forced myself to learn the technical aspects, and whatever I needed to learn, I did not let anything hinder me from it. Although like it was very embarrassing at some points. I was like, I want to do this, so I'm gonna go through the trainings and I'm gonna go learn and I'm gonna ask other people. And that's where the networking and communications, I guess, also comes in. Is I started reaching out to different team members, different teams that are doing the same type of work, made friends. So I can always just reach out to them and be like, hey, is this correct? Is this right? Am I doing this wrong? Like, how can I improve this?
I love it. Can you share any role models or mentors who have influenced your STEM journey or journey into where you are now?
For me, I would say it would be my dad. He's been the biggest support, especially going into a STEM field, not having the STEM skill sets. My dad would be the one that I would go to cry all the time. And so whenever I doubted myself, and I think all of us do that often because we tend to naturally compare ourselves to every single other person in the room. My dad would just ground me and just remind me what the truth is. Remind me who I am and that it's okay because I have my own skill sets, so don't compare yourself to people who are like X, Y, and Z. And that helped me. I'm like, oh, wait, right. Like, I am good at this. I know what I'm good at, and therefore I'm going to take it and run with it. And so he's been a constant support. And so I think it's so important to have an important mentor or role model in your life that can speak truth into your life, and someone that can truly back you up when you're not in the room. And I think that's so important to have to grow yourself as a leader and just be in whatever career path that you want to be in, is to have someone speaking positive things into your life all the time. Especially in the times that you can't do it for yourself.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So now we're getting to your accomplishments. What is one project or accomplishment that you're particularly proud of during your entire career?
Ooh.
Or journey? It
Yeah.
could be high school, college, workplace.
For me, the most relevant accomplishment I can think about, and I've only been in career life for like 3 years, but I think my biggest one is creating the Cohort program, which Ashley's in, which is so exciting, and that's how we met.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Yes.
But basically what I did was I ended up looking at attrition data within my company in my specific field, and based off the data and the reasons of why people were leaving the company, I created a program that specifically answers those issues. So like whatever concerns that people had from former employees, I was like, okay, let's address it and let's create something that will actually retain these employees. And so I would say that's been my biggest accomplishment. I've been enjoying creating it, going through the pilot program, and I'm excited to see where it'll go in the future. Yeah.
You did an amazing job.
She
did great, y'all. Thanks. And it's wonderful. I look forward to every meeting.
Oh, thanks.
So now I want to get back into different career paths that communications majors or communications management can take. So it is super broad, as you mentioned, and you've worked in two completely different industries, kind of like tech and then aerospace. So what are some different career paths when it comes to those majors that people can go into that they might not be aware of?
Oh my gosh. Oh, there's so much. Communications, honestly, you can get your foot into the door in almost any industry. Maybe not like medical field. I don't think you can go become a surgeon after majoring in communications, but from communications, the most, I guess, sought after of why people are majoring in communications would be journalism, getting into mass media, so kind of being tech writers too, that's a big one. Being in front of the camera, so social media, a lot of people go into social media, influencing after majoring in communications, and a really strong skill set that communication majors need is the skill of writing. And so there's a lot of, I guess, like publication work, PR work, a lot of PR work, and that you can get into the tech field by having that skill set, because that's what a lot of companies are looking for now. And then some other, I guess, unknown fields that you can get into is tech. Is honestly tech. People need people to know how to communicate. People need people to know how to use media. And so in the tech field, it would be like program management, project management. There's a lot of analyst work that they want communicators to come in with. There's so much. It's endless. Good. Honestly, like a lot of tech companies, a lot of pause, you can cut that part out. Yeah, but there's a lot. You just have to make your own path with it, and you can utilize communications and like whatever like interview you go into. If you can communicate yourself well, present yourself well, they'll like you. So yeah.
Thank you. All right, Victoria, what's the best piece of advice that you've received so far, and how has it shaped your path?
Best piece of advice I've received so far, I would say would be don't stop trying. And that also actually comes from my dad, because so many times when I feel like failure can really knock a person down to the ground, and so just keep trying new things. Don't ever say no to anything, and failure is just a step. Failure is a step to get you closer to where you ought to end up in life. And so I would say don't be afraid to fail, try new things. And ultimately, if you are doing something and it doesn't work out, that's okay. Don't knock yourself down. Don't think that you're a failure. That's the only way that we get to where we are is through failing. And so don't stop trying. Just keep going.
Thank you, Victoria. That was excellent. So now I want to ask, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your career journey?
Honestly, no.
Good.
I think everything happens for a reason.
I agree.
Especially when things aren't panning out the way that you think life is gonna be like. So not really. Yeah.
Thank you. So now, have you been involved in any initiatives or programs to encourage young women or underrepresented groups?
Could you repeat that question?
Yeah. Have you been involved in any initiatives or programs to encourage young women or underrepresented groups?
I mean, yes, I think most of the programs that I'm involved in always stem from my own background. And so being an Asian American in the workforce, I'm always trying to support my fellow Asian coworkers or young interns that I work with, and just also kind of pour life into them, pour positive feedback into them, make sure that they're seen. And so I try to be as involved as I can in those initiatives.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So now I want to ask, what advice would you give to young communications majors or students that are interested in pursuing communications management or communications?
Ooh, I would say go all in. Enjoy it. It's honestly, I think communication gets a really bad rap, especially like in college when everyone's, constantly studying hours and hours, and then you always have that one communication friend that's like out partying or whatnot. But networking is so important. Mm-hmm. Networking is what's gonna get you so far. And networking is what's gotten me where I am, even as a communication major in a technological field or a STEM field or whatever it is. Networking is so important, and I believe like that's where I gained all that skill set in college. And I would say try out a course in public speaking. So that's like one of the courses that we're forced to take, I guess, as a communication major. It's not always about how to speak well or whatnot. It's learning media. It's what's new with media trends and why social media does the things they do, why the UI in social media looks the way it does. And all of that helps in your everyday life, and you can transfer those skill sets in communications to life. And so I would just advise you to take a course, see how you like it. If you like it, just keep taking the courses. If it's not for you, okay, like different path. And so I would say just dive right in.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, Victoria, as we close out on the career journey portion of your episode, I want to ask you, what are 3 tips for success in navigating in your career?
Yeah, I think my very first tip for success would be adaptable. I think because the society is always going to be changing, the trends are always going to be changing, roles in itself are always going to be changing, especially with the advancement of technology. I think it's so important to be adaptable, to continue improving upon yourself, gaining new skill sets on the daily, taking new trainings. And so I think it's important to stay ready and stay ahead of ready.
I love that. Awesome. What's your second tip?
Sorry. I I think my second tip would be communicate with compassion and conviction. I think being in the workforce, you're always going to be working with people. I mean, unless you're not. But I think it's so important, the words that you use, especially when you feel frustrated or conflict arises, of the way that you're treating the people. And so treat people with respect and communicate in a very clear way, with clarity, without confusion. I think that helps a lot. And then my third one would be building relationships before you need them. With networking being so important and people being such a big part of the workforce, just learning about people, knowing their child's name or their pet's name, and asking about it the next week, next month that you see them, goes a very long way. And so get to know the people that are around you, and that will only benefit you in the future.
I love it. Thank you. So now I want to pivot and go into your hobby with Vicky.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I recently started a new Instagram page called With Vicky, spelled VICI. But it's kind of just a platform where I'm working and posting on anything that I'm passionate about. So fashion, OOTDs, outfits of the days, just any fun sports or athletic things that I'm doing, like rock climbing or going to play kickball, posting that type of content, relatable content, and also a lot of Christian content, just because that's something I didn't have growing up. And so just a safe space for anyone to just come by and scroll through and see what I'm up to. And so that's what I've been doing these past few days.
Oh, with your lifestyle, hobby, and brand, how do you manage and balance everything with your demanding career with work and then being able to still, you know, pour into your hobby? How do you manage? How do you balance?
Yeah, for me, it's about priorities. And so knowing what my number one priority is work. And so I make sure I'm always consistent at work, getting my work done. And then my hobby and like posting content on Instagram is mainly content that I need to do anyways. And so it's not really like a whole nother job. It's something I enjoy doing. I don't get stressed about it. I don't make myself stress over it. And so if I need to dress up for church, then I'll record a quick outfit of the day of like I'm headed to church. And so that's kind of how I manage it. I make sure that it's something I enjoy, which I do. I love fashion and I love lifestyle content, and so it's just fun for me. Managing it.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share before we close out today?
Anything I want to share? I would say, for those of you listening, to know your value, what's truly important to you in your life, because if you don't know your own life's mission statement and your value, you're gonna get confused. You're gonna hear advice from here and there and all other sorts of places, and just I think that can tend to let people spiral in their minds. And so know your why. Know your why of why you're doing and what you're doing with your life, because every day counts and tomorrow's not promised at all. And so I think it's so important to see and look back and assess, like, am I doing am I doing everything today of like where I want to be in 5 years? Rather than like, or am I actually just scrolling on Instagram for an hour, but like you're dreaming about where you want to be in 5 years? I think that's a very big difference, is make sure you're making those small little steps to get to where you want to be in the future. So
I love it. Well, thank you for being a guest. Thank you for joining us, sharing your tips for success, your knowledge, and just being here today. And thank you for the audience watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment to All Things STEM with Ashley. Make sure to watch on YouTube, and you can also listen to Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and more. So check us out. Bye-bye.
Bye.